Hi comic fans, it's Walt. I'm back with another stash of books. It's single issue reviews and there are a lot of fantastic ones in this bunch. So keep watching. Let's start with DC Nation. It's a free magazine by DC Comics, and I haven't talked about it yet. I skimmed through the first few issues, but this one I read properly, and there was one great article in here. So what I really enjoy about it is it's free, and it's of course puff pieces about new projects, and it's a PR magazine after all. But there was also a really interesting article on coloring. Of course I don't find it yet. Yes, how to color comics. And for people who are also interested in the, in the craft behind comic making, this was really enlightening. I remember hearing about colors and color psychology when studying film, and of course in school you do this a bit, but you become aware of how much you don't know about it. And it was really cool, really good read, and especially since I read this first, all the books that came afterwards, I kind of looked through the lens of color at them, and it was a very interesting experience, especially this thing here, when it's about the value, the light intensity of a color. And many colorists, at least in the beginning or like back in the day when coloring was filling out like empty spaces with pretty colors and pretty loud colors, so that it's popping out or it's popping off the page. And you can see here what good coloring is made of, because it has to be dynamic. It has to have a dynamic range. And if not, everything is a bit like grayish, gray, and there is not a lot of range. And this is something that I noticed in a few books. Whenever I didn't understand the image, it was mostly because this very basic rule wasn't applied well. So what I want to say is grab it. It's for free. If your comic shop doesn't have it, he can order it for you. There was also a nice interview about Grant Morrison and Lime Sharp. They're going to do a new Green Lantern series, and I'm really stoked for that too. Yeah, it's a really cool magazine. I think it's the head editor is coming off the Wizard magazine, which was quite cool. I liked it back in the day. All those cool lists about who's hot and who's not. But yeah, let's get into proper comics, and it's almost, I think it's almost how I read them. They're not sorted like, I normally sort them Marvel, DC and Indies, but this time it's all mixed up. And we will start with the Punisher, which was pretty weak. And yeah, I have to stop ranting about or against Marvel, but this was really, it was a bit embarrassing. It's a new #1. It's volume 12 of The Punisher. It's getting relaunched for no particular reason. It's the same writer who's continuing it, and I think last month was the end of the previous series, and this month is a new series. So, well, it worked with me in a way because I bought the #1. It was also a bit cheaper than cover price. That's why I went for it. And you can see the coloring is not very good, but even worse is the art. I won't name the artist because I don't want to shame her or anything, but I don't think it's like art which is ready for Marvel and primetime Marvel. This is supposed to be like not an A-list book, but now Punisher being featured on Netflix and everything, this should be better than that. You can see here, he's using a lot of tracing on his art, and it's not even good tracing. It's the sort of bad tracing where he's also like combining it with filters, and you can see the different layers. basically not interacting with each other. So the people look like they're up, you know, they're in the air. They don't have contact with the floor, and it's really, really bad. And yeah, it's just pretty bland stuff. And some action sequences are okay, but you can see, especially in the faces, but also like in different, the shading is not always right. So when he's copying stuff out of, I don't know, you know, you can use like filters on photographs and make them turn into drawings, and then you assemble them, but they're not in the same position. It's not the same camera angle, and you can see something so slightly off. So this is happening a lot. And the story is also pretty stupid, because it's a $5 book with 2 plots in it, but the book really starts towards the end, where the Punisher, spoiler, is killing the Mandarin, who, well, I can't stop ranting, so I will just stop the review. It's not a good book, just skip it. I could go on and on why I didn't like it, but maybe you did, maybe you do, who knows. Maybe you're a bit more tolerant to, yeah, I would say amateurish comic making than I am. Journey into Mystery, another $5 book by Marvel. They're having a lot of those recently. A lot of #1s, a lot of specials, a lot of one-shots. And this is why I'm a little bit, yeah, more critical of them than of other publishers. This is, the art is pretty cool. It's by Jibril Morissette Fan, and it's written by Dennis Hopeless, who, for me, in my book, is a pretty competent writer. What I've read of his Spider-Woman run was pretty good. And this looks nice. It's reintroducing, or not really reintroducing because they're gone, but it's Sergeant Fury and his Holding Commandos. Very old Marvel hero, war hero. And this is a kind of a war book paired with Krakoa, which is a horror mystery island. An island which is also a being, a monster. And they drop some bombs on the island, and the island starts to react to those bombs. And it's clear that it's kind of Agent Orange in Cambodia or Vietnam kind of story. But, well, it's a very long introduction. Not much is happening, and it's a very slow burn, and you would think that, okay, then something really interesting is happening because you've waited so long, but it really doesn't. So another pass for me for another Marvel comic. Coming to me, number 3 out of 4. It's a miniseries by Zach Thompson, Lonnie Nadler, and drawn by Piotr Kowalski. And this is a really cool story. If you don't know it, there are some old videos of mine where I talk about it. Basically, it's a David Cronenberg kind of book. It's body horror, and it's a guy who has found a device, or he has invented a device where you can merge not the brain, the awareness or the data of different minds into one body. And now there are 2 minds in one body, and they're fighting over who can operate it. And it's really well done. It's really well written. And it's an indie book. And it looks much better than a Marvel book. And it's by Black Mask. If you haven't checked it out yet, this for me was one of the best miniseries of the year. And I would recommend to buy the trade for this one. The Seeds number 2, I tweeted about it on Twitter, obviously, that I really enjoy this book. It's not an easy read, but it's a very compelling read, and it's very fulfilling. It's like having like a very nice, a very nice dinner, where someone has invested a lot of time in buying the right things to make it into a really delicious and perfect dinner, and it's served with the greatest care. And this is what The Seeds is, by Innocenti and David Aja. It's by Berger Books, the new imprint by Karen Berger, formerly Vertigo, well, mother and father and everything. She birthed the Vertigo imprint, and she brought over all those great, now legendary writers from the UK. And here she gives home to Innocenti, who, the last stuff that I've read by her was a DC mainstream work, which was really not good, but this here is phenomenal. It's a sci-fi / dystopian setting. It's a future where this little colony of people are divided into two parts. One who is anti-tech and one who is basically just us in the future. And yeah, aliens are part of it. We don't know exactly how. And yeah, it's an investigative journalist who goes from our world, the tech world, into this very bare and I would say like kind of a Midwestern version of the future. And well, I can't really put it into words, and I can't really start to explain to you the story because it's really complex. There is a lot going on, and we're only in the second out of 4 issues. I can only tell you that it's excellent and very meaningful storytelling. If you like complex sci-fi with a very strong voice and very distinct style of writing, this will be something you will enjoy. If you just want some genre, adventure, fun, fluff, this is not something for you. It's quite heavy, but it's probably one of the big surprises of the year for me. This is the kind of book that I love. Cemetery Beach by Warren Ellis, not good. Number 1 was basically one long action sequence, one guy who escapes being held by, I don't know, some bad people on a different planet than ours, and then he escapes and goes off, and then the comic is finished, and I paid $4 for it. Also the art by Jason Howard of they made Trees together. Not very nice. Okay, Red Hood and the Outlaws. This is becoming DC's Punisher book. Red Hood, if you didn't follow it, had a fallout with the Batman because he killed someone or wanted to kill. I don't know anymore. I think he did kill. And now he's like, he doesn't have any rules anymore. He just goes for it. And I love it. It's a kind of a gritty action book, super well written by Scott Lobdell. Yes, super well written by Scott Lobdell. Only 1 year ago or 2, this would have been like an impossible sentence to say, but now he is, well, one of the most entertaining writers, I think, especially over at DC. The art is by a new guy. It's not Dexter Soy anymore. He moved on. He's now penciling the new Batman and the Outsiders book, and this is by Pete Woods. Well, it's an established artist and a very dynamic art. I really enjoyed it. This was a lot of fun. Not very deep, but you can have the deep one in the seats, and then you just enjoy yourself with the Red Hood book. Alright, Hawkman number 4. This is one of DC's, I don't know if it's a secret hit, but it's definitely one that people, I don't think expected to be as good as it is. It's of course has a lot to do with Brian Hitch's art, as you can see here. which is phenomenal. Let me see if this still records. I'm sorry. Yes, it does. Okay. Sorry for the interruption. It's really, really well drawn. The coloring is a little bit bland, but I still liked it. You know, you can see that he's changing the palette here. It's red, explosions, drama. Then we're back in the air. It's becoming more bluish, and I really like that. It's more like a tableau. The art is always composed for 2 pages to be seen at once. Well, except for this one, but you know what I mean. It's a very large scale art, very how do you call this in English? If it's not close, not mid, but yeah, full scale, you know, very large. I should know that as a film guy, but I can't remember the name of this particular camera shot. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's cool. It's becoming a bit repetitive. Hawkman is looking for other Hawkman from the past who were his predecessors basically, and they have to solve a mystery together. And I told you that I'm a bit wary of this whole different versions of myself kind of trope, but it works well here. It's really well written by Robert Venditti, and there is a nice surprise. I won't spoil it for you towards the end of the book. And what makes this book tick, you know, the whole world building, the all this alien civilizations and stuff, and futuristic city design. This will continue in the next issue in a whole different environment. And check it out. It's a really fun book by DC. This here was the first Detective Comics after Brian Hill's short run, and well, I kept it for another issue because, well, I wanted to see what James Robinson is doing with it. But I don't know, man. James Robinson used to be like this great talent, and he had this Starman run who is legendary, but ever since it's just average stuff. So yeah, the art was decent, of course, but yeah, nothing special. I think Tomasi is coming on board. Tomasi and Gleason will take this over and lead it to number 1000. Long Lost Part 2, Issue 2. So this is, they relaunched the series after 6 issues, but they have both numbers here. So it's like a Marvel Legacy trick where you relaunch but you still keep your old numbering. I don't know why they did it, because I don't think a lot of people jumped on board, but they should have, because it's an excellent book. On Twitter I called it a dark surrealist urban fairy tale, and I think it really nails it down. It's weird, it's super weird, and there are some dialogues in here where I was a little bit cautious with, because you know, when characters are saying to one another, well, what's going on here? I don't understand anything and I don't get where this is heading. I'm you know, all the you're always like afraid if you don't understand something that it's you, but then you still have the hope that you will get there. But if you have the suspicion that the author himself or herself doesn't know what she's doing, or he's doing, I think it's a he here. But then, after a few pages, it picked up, you know, coherence. And I think now I know what this is all about. It's a very psychological thing. And if you like Terry Moore paired with, imagine Terry Moore paired with David Lynch, and then a shot from Charles Burns. This is what this is. It's really cool. Batgirl number 26. well, I picked it up because it's a new writer, and I always want to see if I'm missing, I miss out on something new and exciting happening. But, well, it's not for me. It wasn't super exciting. The drawings were pretty good, except for this panel here, where the Barbara's boob is looking weird. And apropos looking weird, look at this cover. It's by Sean Murphy. Can you believe how ugly a Sean Murphy cover can be? What's going on with Batgirl here? What is she doing? I don't understand it. It's a really weird cover. And the story is... it's okay. It's fun. It's entertaining. But, you know, I probably just don't connect as well with the character and her theme, her thing. So it wasn't for me. Silver Surfer annual #1. So we don't have an ongoing, but we do have an annual. Okay, Marvel, if you say so. And I would gladly pay another $5 for a one-shot. But yeah, it's more pages than usual, and this was a special treat because the artist, his name is Andre Lima Araujo. I'm sorry, I just can't pronounce Spanish or Portuguese names. Anyways, he was in the back matter. He says that, well, he's super inspired by Mobius, and there is this one Mobius One-Shot written by Stan Lee, and you can see it here. It's beautiful to look at. It's a lot of fun. The coloring is cool. By Chris O'Halloran, right? Is it Chris? Yes, it is, and it's the same colorist as my new favorite series, Ice Cream Man. So of course I liked it, but the story itself, I didn't quite get it. Well, I did get it. It's about it's the prototypical Silver Surfer story. Shalabal from his planet. They're apart. He's the Herald of Galactus. He has to find worlds. He's in a moral dilemma. Should I, you know, give Galactus this world, but if he doesn't get it, he will stay hungry and he will maybe go for my planet, blah, 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 blah. It's the very first run of Silver Surfer condensed into one book. But why do we need this? I didn't quite understand. It's like a retelling of the basic Silver Surfer origin. Anyways, if you have never read the original run, get it. Here we have a few books by Alterna Comics. If you don't know them, they're cool. They're super cheap. That's their thing. They want to bring back newsprint. This is like their claim, and you can buy like this anthology for $2, and it's, I don't know, 7 stories or something. It's 40 pages. It's crazy. Nobody's making a buck on this. I don't think that anyone is earning anything, not even the publisher. So it's just a labor of love, and for that alone, it's laudable and it's cool. And some of it, like this first story, where for some weird reason they're using German words. Like it's, I think the setting is in Germany. What's the matter, Liebchen? Which is super weird for a German guy, because you don't understand why. It's like this Nightcrawler syndrome, where he's like, oh my god, what is happening here? So why don't you just say, oh my god? Because, come on, you can't speak English. You don't fall back into German like with the last word of the sentence all the time, right? Why do you do that? Anyway, this is really, really, really well drawn. It's super cool. It has a very creepy feel. The coloring is great. The story was decent. And like with every anthology, some of it is nice, but it's mainly like discovering new talent in here, and it's people doing their first steps in comic publishing. This guy, by the way, I looked him up because I thought it was really, really well drawn. Nico Leon. He's now the artist on Miss Marvel. So as you can see, it's not that far away from professional comics making, but it's not quite there yet, I would say, with some of it, not all of it. So yeah, I still enjoyed it. I finished it. This here, a Blood Reel #1. It's a 150 book, 150, printed on newsprint. But for this kind of book, it's a perfect look, I think. It's classic fantasy, you know, kingdoms, magic, orcs, whatever. Just not for me at all. And some of the art was really cool. It has a very unique style, you know, full pages, narration boxes, but it's not really told in a very engaging, in an engaging form. So I wasn't sold on the narration. Add to that I'm not a big fan of fantasy. And you can see I'm not the audience for this book, but still, like I said, labor of love. And some images were really creepy, and yeah, it's cool. Cool stuff. Exilium. This is very close to a professional comic, I would say. Again, 150 for over 30 story pages. And here you get to see this problem with coloring. So the art is pretty good. The writing is, I would say, the world building is great. It's not super engaging because we don't know, we don't understand the stakes. We don't understand what the characters' motivations are. So it's like this kind of storytelling where something happens, then the next thing happens, and then the next thing, and then some super crazy shit is going on, but you don't really care because you didn't understand why you should follow the story in the first place. Having said that, I still enjoyed reading it. Only I was a little bit disoriented when looking at it. As you can see here, it's hard to focus on something. And this is also, this has to do with the coloring. There is not, you know, it's not, normally the thing that is the most important should contrast with his environment, and sometimes it works well, like those pages, you know, but sometimes everything is in the same tonality, and it's hard to, you know, this works really well. This looks beautiful. And then yeah, there is a lot of green in here. You know, this is a bit muddy. Everything is brownish, and yeah, whatever. So very promising, not quite there yet, but I will say for 150 you can do no wrong. Maybe you like it much more than me and you've spent barely no money on it. But well, if you compare it with Image Comics, of course, another league. But this book here, man, this was an amazing, well, not read necessarily. It's written by Joe Casey, but the art by Ian McEwan. I didn't know this guy, but I was blown away by it. It's so nice. It's called, I think, 1975 in Roman letters. And man, you can you're in New York in the mid-70s. It's amazing. And then it's about a cab driver. It's this lady here, a cab driver, and on her way through the city. It's the dangerous New York of the 70s, but in a genre way. So like super crazy stuff is happening. Monsters, ninjas, all kinds of crazy shit. And she just goes out, you know, she gets out of her taxi and she fights those monsters and ninjas. Yeah, the story is a bit weird, but my God, the art and the coloring is from another planet. And you know, sometimes it's just some little panel here which does all the talking. There were like 2 panels. Oh, I fell in love with it. And I have to get, I think, I wasn't super interested in the writing, I have to say. And then the character, they're still a bit flat. But if you have a page like this, I mean, This is insane. It's so good. Look at those 3 panels. Ugh, incredible. Incredible stuff. So yeah, I was really sold on this one. Really good book. Next up, Immortal Hulk number 5 by Al Ewing and what's the artist's name? Well, I can find it now. You can see Hulk has a little bit of the coloring problems too. This is a bit too much in the same value. Nothing pops out of the page, you know. There is not a lot of contrast. Everything is a bit dark and muddy. Well, but the art is still cool. I still enjoy it. And it's a big fight. It's a big fight between Hulk and Sasquatch, and turns out that Sasquatch is possessed by a spirit, and well, this is a spoiler now, and the spirit is Bruce Banner's father. I didn't even know that he existed or that he was like this super creep father, but yeah, Bruce Banner and Hulk are really afraid of this father figure, which reminds me, I'm the only person who really liked it, I think, but this Ang Lee Hulk film from back in the day with Eric Bana and Nick Nolte as his father, I think this is where I first you know, understood that this father thing is a big yeah, it's a big drama point for the character of Hulk. Whatever. Yeah, this was cool. I still enjoy it. But I don't know. I was a bit underwhelmed by it. I don't know why. We'll see with the next issue now where this is going. It feels like it's a huge build-up, and now I want to see where, you know, I want to taste the meat. All right, Poser number 1. It's a book by Waxwork Comics, and it comes with a record. You can I couldn't buy it in Germany, but in the States you can buy it with a record, a 7-inch, and it's great stuff because I've listened to the music first and then I wanted to read the comic. It's LA punk, but old school LA punk paired with synth, you know, synth music. So it's the perfect music for me. I really love the music. The comic was decent. It's a slasher book, done really well. You know, looks very professional. Doesn't look like a new publisher. I wanted to say that it's like a Black Mask book because it's also like punk people, super left wing, super doing crazy shit and stuff. But I have to say it looks much better than a normal Black Mask comic. It looks super good. It's well told, but I just didn't care as much for the characters and everything. So I don't know if I will be back. If you're into, you know, the Scream kind of horror films, this is something for you. All right, so I thrashed Matthew Rosenberg in the beginning for his Punisher, but he can be a really good writer, as we can see here. By the way, also a Black Mask guy. He moved on to Marvel, and he writes a lot of titles at Marvel, and not everything shines, but this one does. It was a perfect X-Men book, and you know, after all those letdowns, I was like, man, maybe I should just like give up on Marvel. But this was beautiful, you know. It's Havoc trying to have his own little X-Men team, and but it's this kind of like off-kilter book which has an indie feel about it, what I love. And it's not the cool and the mighty and the well-known X-Men. It's more like a bunch of outcasts who don't even have like any kind of cool car or other ways of transport but to take public transport. And this was a super fun scene. They're in the bus, they don't have like small money on them. And it's written by, it's drawn by Greg Land. And you know, he was known for being the Tracer Land, but this looked pretty cool. It was really well done. and really well written, super witty dialogues. I love this. This is the X-Men book if you don't want to follow all the bullshit. This is its own niche in the Marvel Universe, and good stuff. Alright, let's get to my favorite book of the bunch. A book which almost made me cry. Not quite, but it had like this grace. And it's by Brian Michael Bendis and David Mack, and it's called Cover. It's a miniseries. This is number 1 out of 6, and it was beautiful. And I think we can all the comic fans, we will find something in here. Either you're a reader or even a creator, because it's about creating comics. The main character is an artist who's not like top-notch, but not like super low, probably something in between, rather low than top. And he's going to those conventions, and everything is, as you can see in the art, it's not going well, it's a bit bland. But then things start to pick up, contrast comes in, the art is so great. And there's this lady, and she's buying original art from him, and not just like one sketch, but like pages. And this guy's like, oh my god, thousands of dollars for my stuff? Are you crazy? He doesn't say it because he's like super shy and like a comic guy should be. And yeah, I really love the art by David Mack. Always did. It's a bit on the designy side of things, illustrative kind of thing, side of the comic drawing, but if it hits well, it's really the best. And well, Brian Michael Bendis, I just finally finished the omnibus, the Alias omnibus, Jessica Jones, and it was so good. I mean, he's such a good writer, and in here you can relive this this quality that he has, that it doesn't always shine through with mainstream work, but when he's doing like a little bit of an side project where he does what he can do best, you can see that he has this magic to touch you and to make people feel real. They're on the page, but they're real people, and they're not perfect, they're flawed. It doesn't feel calculated at all. It doesn't feel like, you know, okay, I have this story, so some people have to, and some people have to be part of it, so who's this guy? No, he goes from the characters and builds his story around the characters. And yeah, it looks beautiful, it reads beautifully, and you have to read it because it's fantastic comic making. So I hope you still see something. It's gotten really dark in here, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, if you've read any of those and you have a different view on them, I would love to hear about it. If you want to support the channel, you can buy comics from me on my eBay page. You can subscribe to my newsletter where I sell new stock for really good prices. The sale is really coming. I'm still writing the newsletter. It's a very long one this time, and it will come out next week. And yeah, you can interact with me here. You can leave comments in here or go over to Twitter. @WaltSpeaks is my Twitter handle. Until then, you know, just read good books, read good comics, talk about them, and have a good time. Bye-bye.